Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us at the Navier booth. My name is Michael Crew, and it's my honor to introduce our next speaker today. We have Captain Michael Orr from PMA-234, the Airborne Electronic Attack Systems Program Office. Sir, welcome to the stage.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. Again, I'm Bobby Orr, PMA-234, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my portfolio, just where we are in airborne electronic attack. I have the honor of obviously following a 3-star, so my comments will be less strategic and more tactical down in the road there. So go ahead and go to the next slide here. So that's what I'm doing, overview of what's in my portfolio, next generation jammer, both midband and low band, ALQ-99 and Intrepid Tiger 2. Next slide. So NGJ, large part of my portfolio, next generation jammer, augmenting and then eventually replacing our 50-year-old legacy ALQ-99 system that has been in fleet since 1971. The same weapon system that I flew as an EA-6B pilot, and that our warfighters up in Whidbey Island and down in Australia are flying now. Again, I say augment and then replace because as NGJ starts to introduce to the fleet, we will still be flying ALQ-99 beside it as well. Why NGJ? ALQ-99 has been leading the way again for 50 years, and as those threats get more and more complex and evolve, we have to evolve as well to maintain our fighting edge. And with the cutting edge technology that's out there from industry, we've been able to incorporate that both in midband and in NGJ low band as well, which I'll talk to. You can see a little bit, trying to keep pace with threat weapon systems up there, continuing to expand our AEA mission area. First question to get a lot is, hey, what are we doing in EW? And your first question is, well, what's EW? Define EW, right? It means a lot of things to a lot of people, and it continues to expand as we go. So obviously we are tied with the Growler. Everything with NGJ is on the Growler, and you can see this photograph right here. You'll see the midband pods in flight right here and right here. So as we go forward, when I talk about NGJ midband, we're talking about a ship set of two pods for that weapon system. When we talk about low band, it's one pod, and that pod goes on the center line right here. All right, next slide. NGJ, what is NGJ? It's 3 separate weapon systems. First one being midband, which is currently the most mature as we go forward. Low band, as we're getting ready to get rolling on that. And then high band's a future program that still having conversations about what that will entail and what capability that'll bring in the future. But that is a future program of record. Next slide. So midband, where are we? The last year and a half has been amazing. We first irradiated NGJ midband in a chamber at Pax River in November of 2019. And since then, it has been fast and furious, testing NGJ over 3 locations in chambers, 3 locations across the country, being Point Mugu, California, here at Pax River, and also at Crane, Indiana, and then flying on both coasts as well, both here at Pax River and at China Lake. All of that going through last year, et cetera, through all the chamber work and all the flight test work, ultimately got us in May to our Milestone C decision, which was authority to go ahead and enter in production deployment and award our LRIP contract. Our LRIP 1 contract was awarded July 2nd, 3 ship sets of pods, and on that is an option for LRIP 2 of 5 ship sets with the as soon as we get the enactment of the fiscal year 22 budget. So been a major, what made this even more impressive, the complexity of NGJ midband, all the work that's been done to get to Milestone C. It all took place during COVID this last year and a half. I'll talk a little bit about that later. But when we talk about industry and government cooperation, I will tell you every Raytheon on midband, Raytheon the prime, all their suppliers, all their subcontractors working through COVID to get us the parts we need to build the pods, to get our test assets here and get flying. It was an amazing effort by everybody. And not to understate all the work that NAVAIR, you just heard Admiral Peters talk about MAO. MAO essentially is a re-emphasis that the PMA, the program manager, is the supported commander. And we have tremendous support in this program from NAVAIR, and it really showed over this last year and a half. And I'll talk about that a little bit. So midband, really, really proud for this and for the effort going forward here as we we continue going through developmental tests and eventually to IOC in production. Next slide. I talked a little bit about this. We are testing midband across the country, three locations, actually more than 3 locations, but we're flying both at China Lake on the West Coast and Pax River here. We're in the chambers in Pax River, in Crane, Indiana, and out at Point Mugu. And we also have support from Lakehurst, et cetera. We're completed over there. It changes every day. Almost 150 test flights, 3,000 hours of chamber testing across the board. You can see the flight test in the upper right, lower left, and then this is in our chamber here at Pax River. Next slide. Okay, so that's NGJ midband. Again, big focus here as we go forward for the rest of 21 and into 22 is nothing but test, both on the aeromechanical, mission systems, jettison, you name it. Now we switch over to low band, and unfortunately, lots of questions I'm sure on NGJ low band, and I'm not going to be able to answer any of them, except to say that we last year, from a programmatic side, back in December, we became designated as an ACAT 1 program, an ACAT 1B program, which is under the auspices of ASN RDA. That was a huge deal because up to about a few months prior to that, we were a middle tier acquisition program. So we switched gears, and 4 months later, went to a milestone, and a few days after that, we awarded to L3 Harris. On December 18th. That's ultimately for the delivery of 8 operational prototypes and 4 test pods as we get towards a eventual milestone C and an LRIP as we go forward there. This was tremendous. You see the picture here is actually at Pax River. This is our farm, antenna measurement farm, and where we put our pods on the upside down F-18 and test them. This was a tremendous accomplishment from the perspective of prior to this. I can't talk about the EMD contract. The EMD contract is under protest and has been since earlier this year. And hopefully expect resolution on that very shortly, and very confident with L3 Harris, and look forward to them, us being able to lift the stop work and go forward and start getting that capability developed and delivered to the fleet. But what we did with key, I think next slide, I'm gonna go to the next slide. Yeah, progress during COVID. Why bring this up? Prior to the awarding of the EMD contract, we were doing for low band something called a demonstration of existing technology, where we had 2 companies come and demonstrate their technologies in arrays, et cetera, at Pax River. They did that both in the chamber and they did that on the farm. And these 2 companies were able to do that in the midst of the pandemic. Just think about March of 2020 and where we were. And we were able to have 1 company from New York City, 1 company from Salt Lake City, and we're able to get them to Pax River safely with the help of Evolve NavAir, test and demonstrate their capabilities, and we never missed a beat. We did not, in fact, we hit every scheduled milestone that we had planned for, and it was just a phenomenal work ethic when you were literally asking every person that was participating in those events, are you comfortable? Do you feel safe? Let's go. And it was very successful. While we were doing that, we were doing NGJ midband on top of that. And so we're using the same, for the most part, the same test teams. People were one day working in the chambers on midband, sometimes on low band. So it was just absolutely amazing. I already talked about switching acquisition strategy on low band from a middle tier to an ACAT in 4 months. We also did 2 milestones, a low band milestone B milestone in December and a midband milestone C in May, 6 months apart. So we were able to accomplish all that testing, all that acquisition work, everything that's involved in that with our industry partners and the entire collective NavAir team, all during COVID. So it was probably the most impressive thing you'll ever see. And it's one of those things that I think for us in the military, whether you go through SEER school or our deployments or whatever, there's a small group of people that remember the trial and tribulations that you had to go through. And there's a lot of people that 5 years from now, nobody will ever know that they did all this work except for the people that were there. So it was a fantastic effort, again, on the industry side with our primes and with the NavAir team. Next. Australia. This is one of my proudest days, only because this was the first flight of the NGJ midband pod. I was so excited. Unfortunately, as an 06, anytime I tried to go somewhere, people would follow me. So I actually snuck on the flight line. I was hiding behind gear because I felt like a lieutenant again, going to fly my first time. I want to see that thing get airborne. It went airborne. It flew the flags there, the Australian flag and the U.S. flag. And you'll see here This individual right here was my youngest Australian officer that works for me. In the PMA-234 office, I actually have 5 Australian officers and then another one out of Point Mugu. And so the youngest guy there, you can't see behind the mask, but everybody was extremely smiling and happy. And Australia is an incredible partner to us. They have a VSQ squadron down in Australia. They are completely on board with all of our efforts on NGJ as our cooperative partners, both in development and production. And again, they create a huge effort or a huge contribution to our team here at Pax River. Next slide. Okay, outside of NGJ, I also have other things, and NGJ is the newest and greatest, but we also have 2 other major programs in PMA-234. One of them on the left being for our Marine Corps brethren, Intrepid Tiger II, which is supporting the Muse out there. Various different variants of it. It goes on helicopters, also on fixed wing platforms as well. And just recently, a few weeks ago, we flew a non-podded version of the capability on the MV-22 for the first time. So that is forming the backbone of the EW, the MAGTF EW capability. And what makes Intrepid Tiger II even more incredible, to me at least, is that for the predominant aspect of it is done as a government built out at Point Mugu with vendors, and they do a tremendous job. Then ALQ-99, again, our venerated weapon system, will continue to fly. It's flying now. It's still going in harm's way, still supporting the warfighter. And again, we'll continue to support the warfighter long after NGJ is introduced. And our focus now on ALQ-99 is primarily the sustainment side of it, and small little incremental updates for big bangs for the buck, if you will, that you can do with the technology that's still out there. But we have a large team primarily supported by the folks at PMA-234, the folks out at Crane, Indiana, where the depot is, and the folks out at FRC Northwest at Whidbey Island. That their entire efforts are sustaining the 50-year-old weapon system and all the parts, the confederation of capabilities and transmitters that are there. And again, this is not the biggest misnomer. I think when I came to this PMA 4 years ago, is everybody heard, oh, NGJ is IOC, and then ALQ-99 goes away. Absolutely not. It'll be there for as long as, in my mind, probably as long as the Growler's out there. So those, that pretty much, is that the next slide? So that pretty much wraps up where we are in the PMA-234 portfolio. Again, we are in NavAir. We are the airborne electronic attack, so we're the offensive side of the house. PMA-272 would be the defensive side of the house. But for naval aviation, this is where our, with the support in the program office, the Center of Excellence out at Point Mugu, the folks at China Lake, et cetera. These are all the folks that are maintaining that AAA capability with our industry partners for the life of the programs. And I'll take questions.
Thank you. Rick Burgess at Sea Power Magazine. For the low band, are you going to use the same aerodynamic shape for the pod, or do you know that yet? And secondly, is there a ram air turbine that powers these, or what's your power source?
So unfortunately, since we are under protest, I can't really address any kind of design solutions or details on NGJ low band.
Sorry, Steve Turnbull with Aviation Week. So last week, I think it was the House Armed Services Committee directed, if it goes through, the Air Force to study integrating ALQ-249 on Air Force fighter aircraft. And I wondered if you had any thoughts about, which one it should go on, or any issues that may come up in the integration for something besides the E-18.
So appreciate the question. I heard about that yesterday or the day before, or the same, somebody tweeted me, I think, that comment. I have not seen the specifics of that. It does not surprise me. Perspective, I've spent a lot of time with the Air Force as well. It does not surprise me that they're interested in the capability. It is a tremendous capability, but as far as the specifics or where they really want to go from there, or the level of effort to do that, I can't comment on. But I just found out on Friday, and I think it was my daughter who pointed it out to me. I said, you don't know what you're reading. You must be misreading that. And, oh, yeah, okay, well, cool. So. Anybody else? Yep. Oh, he's circling back.
Is there any more you can say about reactive electronic attack measures and that program, just where it is and how it's being integrated with the E18G?
I cannot. I am part of the 234. I own the pods, but the platform is 265. So I'd have to direct any kind of questions dealing with the growler to PMA-265. I'm sure somebody here at NavAir can get you that contact.
Any other questions? Okay, then thank you, sir, so much. Thank you all for joining us.